When making espresso, you'll hear most important is bean selection, then grind quality, and then the espresso machine. So pick some great beans, then get the best grind you possibly can. That means precisely dialing in your grind size on a quality Burr grinder and potentially going for a Burr upgrade. Hey, espresso lovers, Mark here from Whole Latte Love. Today, a dive into the guts of grinding, specifically the burrs. I'll cover things like how to install burrs, grinder cleaning and calibration, burr materials, Burr Seasoning, and I'll have a look at an SSP Red Speed Burr Upgrade that should help bring out more nuanced flavor from your favorite specialty coffees. It's a high-end upgrade, not for everyone, but if you're all about the best, they are worth a look. Before we get started, if you are newer to espresso, I want you to check out my video on dialing in grind size. If you want better espresso, getting the grind size right makes a huge difference. It's a very simple process and the video walks you through it all. Use a link up here or down in the description to watch that. My first advice to anyone new to espresso, it's all about the grind size, and grind size is never set and forget. When changing beans, as beans age, or when you change dosed weight, your grind size will need to change as well. Coffee grinding burrs come in two basic types. There are conical burrs like these, which are common in lower cost homebrew grinders and some appliance grade home espresso focused grinders, and flat burrs like these, which are used in a few lower priced home grinders but dominate high end machine grade grinders at the prosumer and commercial level. Since flat burrs are far more common in high-end espresso brewing, that's where I'll keep the focus today. First, let's talk about Burr Seasoning. When you get a new grinder out of the box, the burrs are dry. To season the burrs means simply to grind beans, so burrs are coated with oils from the coffee. Now, there may be some microscopic changes to the burr's cutting edge, but the really big deal here is that coating of coffee oils, which reduces friction. With added lubrication from the oils, grinding speed will increase as burrs season. On average, manufacturers say it takes about 3 to 5 kilograms to fully season new burrs. And now don't freak out, there's nothing wrong with a coffee ground during seasoning. You can and should use it, no need to throw it away. The big thing to be aware of again is your grinding speed will increase as the burrs season. So if dosing by time, as new burrs season, it will take less time to grind the same amount of coffee. If you are going to clean your grinder or install a Burr upgrade, you've got to open it up, do what you have to do, put it back together, and calibrate. So here's what you need to know for that, including a trick to avoid damaging certain types of grinders. I've got a couple of Ceado grinders here with different adjustment mechanisms and an older Mazer grinder for demonstration. Before you open up any grinder, grind all the beans out and unplug the grinder. Don't want to lose any fingers here. We'll start with the easy one. Here on the Ceado E37S with a quick set gear, just take out these 3 screws, pull the top, and you're in. Now what's really nice with this grinder is there's no loss of grind size adjustment when you open it up. Also, the adjustment mechanism is very well sealed. You'll see what a difference this makes when we get down to the Mazer. So do your cleaning in here with a brush and a vacuum, put the top back on, tighten the screws, and you're done. The Ceado E6P uses a threaded adjustment collar, which is a pretty common setup. With all the beans ground out, keep turning the collar to coarser until it releases. Then pull out the top burr carrier, this flex ring, and the solid ring, which helps seal the grinding chamber and keep ground coffee out of the threads. This is the grinder I'm going to install the SSP Red Speed Burr Upgrade in, so I'm going to leave it open for now. Here on the Mazer, the process is similar. Keep turning to a coarser setting until the adjustment collar is loose. Pull it off and remove this piece which carries the top burr. Now in the Mazer, things are a little different. Not much of anything keeping coffee dust and oils out of the threads, so they tend to get gummed up. As a result, grind size adjustment can get difficult and jumpy. Also, if you are going to vacuum in here, be sure and remove these 3 springs. I hate to admit it, but I've sucked those up more than once. This grinder is very dirty. I won't show you the whole cleaning, but I'm using a variety of tools here. Brush, pick, vacuum, whatever it takes. As with any grinder with a threaded adjustment collar, making sure these threads are squeaky clean is incredibly important. A push pin or needle and a fair amount of effort may be required to get both sets of threads perfectly clean. If they're not, things can get bound up when you try to put the adjustment collar back on. Or you'll get it all back together only to find adjustment is still tight and jumpy. Putting the adjustment collar back on and calibrating is essentially the same for all grinders with this setup. So I'll install the SSP Red Speed Burrs in the E6P, and I'll show you how to do that, including the trick to avoid damaging the threads. The SSP Red Speed Burrs are made of high-grade tool steel coated with Red Speed titanium aluminum carbon nitride. This treatment keeps them sharp much longer than stock steel burrs, giving them a working life of over 10,000 pounds of coffee. They minimize heat transfer and should be impervious to corrosion, making them good for use if you use RDT water sprays to reduce static, say for single dosing. Beyond that, notice the difference in the design of the burrs. A lot more total cutting edge length, and those cutting edges extend much further towards the center of the burr. You may experience faster grinding times with these burrs. Now, your results may vary, but verified buyer Mark G says his double shot grind time dropped from 19.5 to 7.5 seconds after installing a set in his Mazzer Mini. Installation is simple. Remove the screws holding in each of the old burrs and install the new ones. The screws are usually fairly tight, so clean out the screw heads if you need to and use the right screwdriver for good leverage. The SSP burrs are marked on the back with top and bottom, so be sure and put them in the right place. Before mounting, be sure and thoroughly clean the mounting surfaces. Use firm pressure when tightening the mounting screws. Beyond longer life, you should notice improved depth of flavor and more consistency with the SSP burrs. That was our experience in subjective blind taste tests among our web and design staff. Verified buyer Matt G put them in his Ceado E37S and said it made an immediate difference in his espresso. Flavor had a noticeable increase in clarity, and nuances are easier to detect. With the burrs mounted, here's that trick to avoid damaging a grinder with a threaded collar. When threading, first turn to a coarser setting. This helps get the threads lined up to avoid cross-threading. You want to hear or feel the threads drop while you're turning. Once that happens, start turning the other way to a finer setting. If you experience any resistance, back off to a coarser setting and try again, or you may need to check and make sure those threads are perfectly clean. If not, redo those and try again. Once everything is turning easily, go a few full turns and then plug the grinder in and turn it on. With the motor running, continue turning to a finer setting until you hear the unmistakable sound of the burrs just touching, and then back off until that sound stops. Now, don't worry about the burrs briefly touching. They all have an outer edge with no cutting teeth, and that's what touches first, so you're not hurting anything. Do keep that touch gentle and brief, so quickly back off until the sound goes away, and that's your zero grind setting. From there, back off at least a full turn of the collar, add your beans, and you're ready to dial in your grind size. Now, the SSP Red Speed Burrs are available now in 64mm size for Ceado and Mazzer grinders and 83mm for the Ceado E37S grinder. Again, these are a high-end upgrade, not for everyone, but if you want only the best, it's the way to go. Now, if you have any questions on grinders, the SSP Red Speed Burrs, or anything coffee, use the comments and I'd be happy to get you a detailed answer. I'm Mark. Thanks for watching. I do hope you'll subscribe and come back soon for more of the best on everything coffee, brought to you by Whole Latte Love.